Hello everybody. Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. It is incredibly beautiful out today, so I could not resist. Yeah, filming this outside, so welcome to the outside. Fingers crossed it does not rain. And yeah, we're gonna do something a little bit different today, just in that it will have a slightly different structure just from our kind of standard flow class. I'm going to do this more in a sort of yang to yin or flow to restore. Ooh, it is wobbly outside. Flow to restore fashion. So that essentially means we will be working a little bit more with balancing these kind of different energies of practice, the yang and the yin. The yang will be a little bit more physically dynamic for about the first half hour, and then yeah, from about sort of 35 minutes on, we're going to really start to slow it down and focus in on these more sort of surrendering, softening aspects of the practice. If you'd like them, 2 blocks will be super helpful today, or just any props, bits that you can use as a substitute for blocks. I'm hoping that it doesn't look like I'm sort of squinting angrily at you because of the sun. If I look mad, I promise I'm not. And it's just because it's really sunny. So when you're ready, we're going to start with a little bit of time in stillness. As always, that can be in absolutely any position that you would like it to be in. So if today is a bit of a lying down day, you're very, very welcome to be lying down. You can be seated. I'm going to be seated today. Feel free to use any props or bits to support you, whether that's under the knees, under the hips. Just take a little bit of time for you just to start to settle into your space, to cultivate this space for yourself. And then once you do feel ready, just beginning to decide if you feel the most comfortable with the eyes opened or closed today. Just seeing what feels the most restful. Gently lifting the top of the head. Allowing the shoulders to drop. And just to settle us in, we're going to begin with a couple deep sighs today. So when you're ready, we'll roll the shoulders up on an inhale. And then a full sigh out. Letting it go. Let's take a couple more together. Inhale. Big long sigh out, let it go. If it feels good to make noise, I want to really invite you to make some noise. Big inhales. Whole way to empty. You can start to exaggerate the jaw, really dropping. Let's take one more together. Let it go. Take a moment first just to notice how that felt today, any subtle effects, releases of those sighs. If it felt really good, or if you feel like you'd like to take a couple more to find a bit more space. Take as many as you like, take as long as you need. But then when you do feel ready, we're going to begin by allowing the breath first to soften. Just gently beginning to notice the flow of breath in and out the body. Allow the breath to start to ground you into the present moment. Allowing yourself to loosen your grip from your morning so far, your day, your week. And each breath can be a little reminder of this presence, a little collection of your awareness. a reminder of how deserving you are of your own awareness and of your own attention. From here, I want to invite you to just start to invite a sense of softness through your form, through your being. It can often be helpful to use sensations of support to find softness. So whether you start to notice the support, physical support beneath you, it might be props or it might be the ground. But just notice how the body's held. And see if you can invite a little more softening from there. If you'd like to, you could bring your awareness onto the support of your breath. And perhaps focus in on your exhales. Each exhale inviting in just these tiny pockets of beginning to soften, of beginning to come back. Now you're always welcome to take your practice entirely as your own. This is a practice of connection, and the ways we connect are going to look different for different people, different days, different moments. So you might have a specific intention that you sort of come to the mat for today. If so, you're more than welcome to bring that in. You might prefer to practice without intention, that's absolutely fine. But if you would like a suggestion today, what I'm going to offer out is this intention of compassion. It's something I think works really well with a practice where we're kind of focusing on these different energies and sides of ourselves coming back to the center within it all. Because in the yogic practices, there is this belief of compassion being at our center, being at our truest nature. So we make space for that through the more dynamic movement. And then we allow ourselves to come back to it as we slow things down. I definitely can't speak for you, but I know for me that I don't tend to feel my most compassionate when I'm in a rush. And so although the more yang part of the class is more dynamic movement, we're still moving very slowly and we're dropping in these sort of seeds of compassion as we start to flow. One of the coolest things about modern science and this kind of very ancient philosophy now starting to come together is that we know that the effect... So sorry, the cat is distracting me. Oh, sweetheart. Yeah, now we know how directly that what we practice begins to shape our brain, begins to shape the way we see the world. In some ways, kind of really begins to shape who we are. So even if a compassionate way of being feels really far away today, it doesn't really feel like a huge part of your practice, just making the intention and making the space for it, being here, is starting to strengthen those pathways. The more we strengthen them, the more naturally we'll be inclined towards these spaces. So try not to judge the outcome too much, but just allow yourself to be here for the practice. And just breath by breath, time and time again, come back to intention. Perhaps that's coming back to compassion. So as we ease into movement, we're going to take one more deep sigh together. Let's take a full inhale. And then a deep sigh out. From where you are, draw the chin a little bit closer down to your chest. And let's just gently begin to rock the head from side to side. Just slowly easing yourself into movement and sensation. See if you could bring your breath just gently into the way you move. Start to find the way they can connect with one another, they can move with one another. The breath not just connecting us to the present moment, but also to the body and reminding us of this connection of the world outside of us. this breath, this sort of exchange of energy that is shared with all living things. If you've been lying down, there's no rush, take as much time as you need. But when you feel ready, you can start to make your way up to a seat, whether that means pausing on one side, taking any stretches or props along the way. And then as and when you have got there, just starting to explore a little more movement around the axis of the neck. Whether today it wants to be circles or more of a kind of figure of 8 or just moving freely. Just body and breath beginning to ease with one another, work with one another. And perhaps you invite this intention to stay knitted onto the way you move. Start to notice the subtleties of practice. Compassionately moving with yourself, connecting with yourself, the wholeness of your experience. When you're ready, let's come back to stillness and we'll tune into the breath a little more. If the steady breath you've used so far feels really good, if it feels comfortable, feel free to keep it there. If you have an ujjayi in your practice, you can engage that now. If you're happy finding it on your own, go ahead. But for anyone who's less familiar with ujjayi, we control the breath in the back of the throat. And it's very similar to what you do when you fog up a mirror. So if you want to give it a go with me, we're first going to pretend to fog up a mirror. You're going to take a big inhale through the nose. Breathe out how you'd fog up a mirror. And you'll feel a little sensation in the back of your throat. I'm going to take one more like that. Yeah, really nice. Now it's like you're going to do the same thing, but you keep the lips sealed. That'd be your ujjayi. Find it again on your inhale. And continue it on your exhale. May or may not work for you today, may or may not make sense for you today. Using the breath can be a great way to find focus. Ujjayi specifically is quite soothing for the nervous system. Let's take one more inhale here together. And exhale. Let's sync together movement and breath. Your next inhale, start to sweep up the arms, lift the hands to prayer up above the head. Then as you exhale, we press the hands onto one another to draw them down through center. 2 more like that at your own pace. Inhale's going to sweep up. If you like, think of starting to gently look up, lift the sides of the waist, the armpits. Press palms as we draw down. 1 more like that. Inhale reaches up. Exhale, press the hands to one another. Trace your breath. We're going to lift the arms up just 1 more time. Then start to make your way to your tabletop position as you exhale. So you can roll over your knees or you can take them out to the side as is most comfortable for you. We're going to have the hands about shoulder distance apart and the knees about hips distance apart. So I want to give you a little bit of space as we begin first, just to move freely. So just beginning to play with kind of shifting these different sensations, your center of gravity around your axis, and using your breath as the constant to connect into them, to connect with them. Maybe bringing back this connection of any intention sort of knitted to the breath today. Just welcoming yourself in. Let's just take 2 more breaths here. Please excuse this. There's actually just a little bit of cat snot on my mat. Poor little babe. Okay. Start to come back to neutral when you're ready. From here, we're going to inhale, grip the fingertips, tuck the toes. Exhale, begin to lift your hips up and back to start to find our first downward facing dog of the practice. Again, you can start to move in your own way. So that might look like taking little movements. It can sometimes feel really nice to bend both the knees or start to bend one then the other. Let the back of the neck soften. And if it feels like the breath starts to constrict, a sigh is always a great option to find some release. And we're going to pause in a little bit of a pedal today. So bend your right knee and think about pressing the left heel down. Balance the press through both of your hands. And next exhale, we start to switch. Right heel down, bend the left knee. One more big breath. And then both heels to the ground. Inhale, tiptoes, look towards your hands. Whether you walk, step, or jump your way to the top of the mat, we're all going to meet in Uttanasana, forward fold. So you can have a little bend in the knees and let the chin drop down towards your chest. Take a moment to soften, maybe hands to opposite elbows as you work a little bit of release. When you're ready, releasing your hands. Inhale, let's come up halfway. Think of the weight coming to your heels and lengthen the spine. And then as you exhale, we're going to soften back down. One more like that with breath. Inhale, chest lift, shoulders back, little sense of lifting forwards. And exhale down. Whole way to standing, press down through your feet, lift up your hands, lift up your gaze, look up towards the thumbs. And then Samastiti here, we bring the hands down through prayer. We're going to take a few moments to ground, to pause, decide if the eyes feel most comfortable, opened or closed, and then start to think about your feet. So they might want to be hip distance, they might want to be a bit wider, or the toes could be together and the heels slightly apart. The option doesn't have to bear too much importance, just see what feels the most grounding for you. And then press into your big toes, your heels, and also the sides of the feet. Notice your grounding and how the body lifts. Come back to your breath. And the intention of your breaths, of your movements today. Let's take one more inhale together. You're welcome to sigh it out as the hands come down, Tadasana. And we'll start with a Surya A. Your next inhale, we're going to start to sweep up the arms, start to look up towards the thumbs. As you exhale, a little bend in the knees, chin drops down towards your chest. Inhale, we lengthen up halfway. Exhale, take the hands to the ground as you work your way back to your plank variation. Knees can be up or down. Let's take one more inhale, look forwards. Exhale, we come the whole way down to the ground. Draw the elbows in. Inhale, the cobra pose. Grip the fingers as you drag the chest through. Exhale, we're going to start to make our way back to your down dog variation. So whether you want to take a moment to pause in child's pose on your way, if you want to pause in tabletop, have a move around, maybe a cat-cow. We'll spend about another 2 to 3 breaths here. When you're ready, next inhale, tiptoes. Bend your knees, look to the hands, walking, stepping, or jumping. Think of the chest lifting as you come forwards. And then exhale to come back down. Whole way to standing, press down through the feet, lift up your hands, lift up your gaze. Straight back down as you exhale, forward fold, dive down. Turns out the ground isn't very even here. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, hands to the ground. Choose your transition. You might keep stepping back. You might start to jump back. Maybe you land with bent elbows. Inhale, lifts the chest. Squeeze the glutes, lift the thighs if you're in up dog. Exhale, it's your own transition. We hold for about 4 to 5 breaths. So whether you're pausing in child's pose, tabletop, or down dog. Let's just take one more here. Then those of us in down dog, I'm going to give some options here. We're going to start to bend the knees and stretch out the sides of the body. Draw both knees over to the left. And again, balance your press through the hands. You can stay there. You can start to lift off the right foot or come to a rock star variation. Left hand lifts and the right leg straightens. One more breath, look to the ceiling. And then we're going to meet back in down dog. Second side, bend your knees, bring the knees to the left. You can peel up the left leg, right hand lifts. Maybe the leg extends. One more breath, look up. Exhale, hands and feet to the ground. We come back to the top of the mat. Inhale, tiptoes. Bend your knees, look past the hands, and inhale will bring you forward and the chest lifts. And then an exhale takes you back down. Last Surya A, whole way to standing. Straight back down as you exhale, hinging at the hips. Inhale, we lengthen. Again, it's your transition. If you're working on your floats, you could think about taking some weight into the hands. Look forwards before you start to bring yourself back. Inhale. Move at your own pace, move at your own way. Your exhale, again, it's your variation. So whether it wants to be a child's pose, tabletop, down dog, if you prefer, it could be a dolphin pose if you want more weight into the shoulders. Let's hold for another 2. See if you can take a hold of the breath. And 1. We're gonna make our way back to the top of the mat. You're coming back to down dog if you were anywhere else. If you were in dolphin, let's see if we can lift both elbows at the same time. Look to the hands. Inhale, tiptoes. Bending your knees. Inhale as you come forward, the chest lifts. Inhale. And exhale. Whole way to standing. Press down through your feet. Lift up your hands. Give the glutes a squeeze. Samastiti here, we pause. 2 breaths, inhale. If it feels constricted, take a sigh. Come back to your Ujjayi. We're going to take 1 Surya B, Tadasana, before we come into our flow today. So let's inhale, sit the hips low, sweep up the arms. As you exhale, we fold. Inhale, you lift up halfway. Again, it's your transition, hands to the ground. If you're working on floating, we think shoulders forwards, look forwards. Inhale to lift. And exhale back. This time we're gonna inhale the right leg to the sky. Exhale, you take the knee to the nose and dome the spine. Press the ground away. Inhale, the leg back high. Now we're working to a warrior 1 today. Knee to the nose, step the foot towards your hand and bring the left heel down. Inhale, it's gonna sweep up, look to the hands, drag that left hip forward. Exhale, hands to the ground. Decide how you get back to down dog. You might go straight there. You could take a moment to rest. Or you could come through your vinyasa variation. Exhale back, second side, inhale, left leg. Exhale, knee to nose, dome the spine. Use the breath, inhale. Exhale, knee to nose, step the foot towards your hands, right heel down. Inhale's gonna sweep up the arms. Exhale, you keep it flowing. Chest forwards as you lower if you're lowering. Inhale. And exhale. 4 to 5 breaths in your variation. Down dog, could be child's pose, tabletop, or dolphin. If it feels good to keep movement, you can keep movement in the body. Find your own definition of yoga, moment to moment, own definition of connecting. Using the breath as our anchor. And each time we come back to it, coming back to the intention that sits on the breath. Just 1 more here. If you're resting and you want to stay, please know you can. But if you are continuing to flow, we meet back in down dog. Inhale, tiptoes. Bend your knees, look past the hands. Use your inhale to bring you forward. Press to the palms if you're jumping, chest lifts. And exhale to fold. We come to chair pose, bend your knees and sweep the arms up by the ears. 1 more breath here, weight to your heels, squeeze the biceps to your ears. And then Tadasana. If you want to take a sigh, big inhale. Sigh it out. We're going to inhale, sweep up the arms. Catch the right wrist in your left hand. Inhale to think of lifting up. Then exhale, we're thinking about going up and over. Oh, lovely. See if you can balance the press in your feet. Hips come forwards a little bit. Now, a little different than what we do sometimes, we're going to shift the weight onto the left leg, come onto your right big toe, and we're stepping it back to a crescent lunge. So find somewhere to soften your eyes, your drishti, step the right foot the whole way back. If it feels really wobbly, you might be on a bit of a tightrope, so just widen your stance a little bit, and see if you can come back to that opening. Inhale up, exhale over. Maybe bend the front knee a little more, last breath. Then we're going to release it out to a warrior two. Inhale, exhale, you bring the right heel down, and we're going to take the arms, ooh, I'm sliding, out nice and wide. Balance your press in your big toes, lift up the top of the head. Let's inhale, shrug the shoulders up. You can sigh it out as you like as we draw them down. Flip your front palm and take the left arm up and over the head, reversing the warrior. Now, a couple options here. You can keep the hands as they are. If you wanted to work that bind with the wrist again, right hand can come to the wrist. Think of up and over, stretching out the other side of the body. You could take the hand down to the base of your neck, right hand to the elbow point, or you could reach the fingertips towards one another. Whichever option you're in, just notice what the spine has got up to. For me, I really naturally want to go into a back bend. So I'm going to think about engaging my core, bringing the pelvis slightly forwards, rebend your front knee, and then think left elbow up wherever you are. Last breath. And then let's release it out, find extended side angle. So left forearm could come down to the thigh, right up and over the head, or if you prefer, the left hand can come down to the ground. Wherever you are, we're thinking of a long line, peeling the side of the waist and the heart towards the ceiling. Just one more breath here. Then from here, we're going to work towards a half moon. So this might be where you want to take one of your blocks, take it in your left hand, and you're going to take it just in front of your foot. Some of us, it might be hand on the ground. You're going to shift yourself forwards. If you like, self-assist. Right hand can come to the hip to peel the hips open. Maybe right arm to the ceiling. You can look to the ceiling if you like. And I'm going to give an option for Chapasana today, bending up your top leg and reaching the right hand back. Kick the foot to your hand. Last breath. Now this is a slightly tricky transition. You're going to look down to the ground, take a little bend in your left knee, and we're going to see if we can lift the whole way up to dancer's pose. Take your time. If you fall out of it, it's all good. I nearly did too. Come back to the pose, one more breath. Then we're going to release. Tadasana, feet to the ground. Shrug the shoulders up. Inhale. Sigh it out. Last little bit on this side. We're going to lift the right leg. Come onto the left foot, right leg lifts. And we're coming to eagle. So the right leg wraps over. I'll just turn so you can see me a little better. If you want more support, great option is to take the toe down to the ground. If you prefer to keep it as more of a balance, we can wrap the leg around, and we're going to eagle the arms as well. So it might look like having the left arm on top. You can bind with the arms as well if you like. Wherever you are, let's think about elbows down to knees, but broaden the chest. Last breath here. Try soften the eyes and the face. Then we're going to meet in standing splits. So we start to unravel. Right leg's going to come back behind you and the hand's going to come down to the ground. We're just going to turn again. And this might be a space where some of us want to start to take both of our blocks, to take the fingertips to the ground. Inhale's going to lift the chest. And then exhale, we're going to think about folding. Now there's lots of options you can work with here. You can stay with this kind of ripple and fold feeling. Think forehead towards the shin. Do you prefer to work a bit of balance on your foot? That might be one hand coming onto your ankle, maybe seeing if that wants to be two hands. Or if you wanted to work your inversions, little handstand hops, you can take a wall, or if you're on a garden, in a garden like me, we've got lovely squishy grass, you might take some freestanding hops. If you're comfortable handstanding, you know where you're going. But we take the hands to the ground. What's super important here is the shoulders coming over the knuckles. So they come further forwards than we often think they want to. We're going to think about lifting forwards, and I like to look just beyond my hands to get a little bit of a back bend. You can bend your back knee. Inhale. Exhale. Nice. We're going to keep the legs split. If you've brought them together, bring them back to a split. And we're thinking about our descent back. Bring the left foot to the back of the mat first. Inhale. Little bit scary, little bit fun. You might come straight through a vinyasa, you might just be stepping yourself back. As always, the variation doesn't need to matter too much. Just finding what works for you. And then take a moment to be in stillness. So we've got all of those poses we've worked with so far, whether it's down dog, child's pose, you could come to kneeling like me, tabletop or dolphin. Experiment with what feels the best. See if you can deepen your inhale. And steady your exhale. Let's just take one more moment here. Then we're going to come to the top of the mat to start our second side when you're ready. So we meet back in downward facing dog. Inhale, tiptoes. Bend your knees, look past the hands. Inhale, think of the chest lifting. And exhale to fold. Whole way to standing, press down through your feet, lift up your hands, lift up your gaze. We'll go straight to second side. You catch the left wrist, inhale peels you up. And exhale over. See if you can balance the press in your feet. Use the breath, give the glutes a little squeeze. Now we shift the weight onto the right foot, come onto left big toe. Slowly keep the eyes soft as you step the leg back for your crescent lunge. You might need to widen your stance for steadiness. Think of going up and back over. Bend the front knee, lift up the heart. Last breath. Exhale as warrior two. Bring your back heel down. Maybe you widen the stance as the arm comes out to a T shape. Start to soften your gaze over your front fingertips, let the shoulders drop. Then when you're ready, we reverse the warrior, flipping your front palm. Take the arm up and over the head. You could stay with the arms as they are if that feels good. You could work back with that wrist bind, taking the hand to the elbow or the fingertips towards one another. Notice your spine. Might be doing a bit of this. If so, we're going to think about gently like tucking the tailbone under. I heard someone say Elvis pelvis recently and I thought it was brilliant. Elvis pelvis. One more breath. Start to release. I'm going to take the right forearm down towards your thigh, or it can come down to the ground as the left arm comes up and over the head. So we're creating this long diagonal line in the body. Think of lifting the heart to the ceiling, maybe bend the right knee just a little deeper. Last breath. Then we're going towards our half moon. So your right hand's going to find the ground or a block. Start to shift the pose forwards. Maybe you're more graceful than me. And then we're going to work on lifting up the left leg. So, thinking about stacking that left hip on top of the right. Nice. You can peel up the hand. Maybe we bend up the leg. One more breath. Then we're working it towards dancers. You're going to bend the right knee. Start to find some support on your glute. And then we lift up the chest. 2 breaths. Find your drishti, your focus. And then release. Feet to the ground, Tadasana. Let's inhale. You're going to sigh it out, sigh it out. Come back to Ujjayi. Eagle on second side, the left leg lifts and comes over. You can have toe to the ground, or you might be working a bind, a single or a double wrap. The arms, this time it'll be the right arm on top, either wrapping them around you or the forearms pressing. And then we think elbows down to the knees as we lift the chest at the same time. 2 more breaths. We unravel. Take the hands down to the ground for your standing splits variation. You might be taking your blocks, inhale, lifts, and exhale, fold. Deciding what you'd like to work on this side, whether it's holding here, whether it's working a little bit of balance, taking a hand or 2 towards the foot, or if you're taking your handstand hops. Hands come to the ground, look just in front of the hands. Bending the knee, splitting the legs. Think of really energizing that top foot to lift. If you're very bendy, you're going to work on squaring the hips. Just one more breath. Then we start to work our way to the back of the mat, bending the elbows, stepping or jumping the foot back. And we work our way to your variation to pause in child's pose, down dog. Find what feels comfortable for you. Take a few moments to notice any of the subtle effects as the body finds a little more support. Maybe noticing if there's any more space to soften after the support of the movements that we've come through. Then take your time. We're going to take a final couple active back bends on the ground, and then we're going to start to wind it down. So start to make your way forward to a plank pose. Knees can be up or down. Oh, sweetheart. Sorry, little baby. And we lower the whole way down to the ground. So we're going to start with a half dhanurasana, half bow. Take the right forearm parallel to the mat, top of the mat. We're going to bend up the left foot, kind of like dancer's pose. You can have the hand onto the foot. If you know you're quite mobile and there's a bit more space, you want to go deeper, you can take the foot into your elbow crease. It can just be a little slippier, so you can kind of flex the foot as a little shelf. You're going to inhale, exhale, kick the foot away. See if you can lift the knee. You might lift the leg. You can even lift both the hands. If you want to, you can even mermaid bind. Take one more breath. And then release it down. Taking the hands to one another, the feet down, take a little rock of the hips side to side. Find a little release. Rest down the weight of the head. And then we'll go second side, bending up the right leg. Same, it might be hand on the foot, it might be foot to elbow crease. You're going to start to kick the foot away. Maybe the left leg lifts, maybe the left hand lifts. 2 more breaths. Then release. This time we're going to keep the right leg. Bring both hands onto the ankle or the foot. Think of squeezing the foot in as you press the hips down and let the forehead rest. Slowly switch sides. We come back. Take the hands under the shoulders. You're going to press yourself back to a kneeling pose. Last 2 back bend variations. Going to be 2 variations of your camel pose, Ustrasana. So we're going to start to come to stand up on your knees, tuck the toes, take the hands to the small of your back, little squeeze of the glutes, inhale, and then kind of feel like you are leaning back onto one of those big Pilates balls. So the hips draw forwards, it's almost like the heart's drawing up more than back. Go 1 more breath, and then bring it down. You decide where you're going to counter pose. Whether it's kneeling or if you prefer to take a full counter, bring it down to a child's pose. Now I'm going to give a couple options for this next round. You can do what we just did. If you prefer, you could start to slide the hands down. Inhale, exhale to your heels. Or if anyone's working their drop back, we're going to work a drop back towards wheel here. So you take the hands to prayer. We're going to think of pressing the hips forwards. Take the hands up and over. They go a little further away from you as you see if you can press yourself up into the hands. Ta-da! And then you come back the way you came. The knees come down. And we meet back in your variation. Whether you want to release in kneeling or release in your child's pose. Notice any effects of the movements on the body. You might feel a little warmer or the heart beating a little faster, just notice it. Slowly start to ground on the breath. And then from here, we're going to start to take some longer holds and we're going to start to wind it down a little more. We're going to start with a supported child's pose. Take the knees out a little wider and we're going to be resting the forehead down. So for some of us, it might be really nice to take one of your blocks or something you can support the forehead down with, and then really work on releasing down the weight of the head. You can stack the hands if you prefer, or perhaps for you, the forehead rests to the ground. But taking some time here to start to really focus in on softening. Notice the supports that is there. And see how you can allow the ground to begin to hold you. Last breath. Slowly start to release. We're going to make our way to lie down again. Lying down on your front so you can come through a full or supported plank as you lower yourself down. This next pose is nicknamed Chalk Man. It's not the best name, but it's a lovely pose. You're going to take the arms out to a cactus shape. And then we're going to start with the left leg, the left knee out to the side. So similar to a half frog pose, but we can turn the side of the head onto the ground or onto the mat. I've taken a support underneath my knee. That feels really lovely for me. Feel free to have a play around if it feels best. Have the knee on the ground or gently propped up. And then take your time to begin to allow the body to surrender into the pose, into the space. I often find it helpful to sort of actively give the body permission to really start to open, to start to rest, to be held. If that's helpful for you, I want to invite you to play with that sort of permission. Let's just take another 3 breaths here. When you're ready, we're going to meet back in crocodile pose. So taking the knees back together. Hands can stack to rest the forehead down. And a few moments just to feel into any subtle energetic shifts of the posture. Find your grounding again. And then when you're ready, we'll start our second side. So we take the right knee out to the side. If you need any supports, take your time to get set up. Arms come back to that sort of cactus shape in line with the shoulders. And you can turn the head to the left. Beginning to allow the body to surrender, to soften. Last 3 breaths. When you're ready, take a moment back in your crocodile pose again. Remembering the intention that remains on the breath as we begin to slow the body down, the practice down. We're going to turn ourselves to lie on our backs from here. It's helpful, can sometimes be nice to extend an arm as you roll over. Now we're going to take a couple variations of a twist. If you feel ready to start to come straight towards your Shavasana, you are very, very welcome to take a longer extended Shavasana. If you'd prefer to come to these twists, we're going to work a couple variations. We're going to work a variation, working towards cat chasing its tail. If you know where you're going, you can go for it. If you're coming with me, we're going to have the right leg in, inhale. Exhale to draw the leg over the chest. And then allow the shoulders to soften. You can turn the head to the right. Now there might be some lovely sensation here. You might want to pause. If you wanted to work in any binds, we could take the left hand towards the right knee. You could even extend the leg to take it towards the foot. Or we can bend up the bottom leg as well and reach the right hand down towards the foot. Once you've found your variation, allowing yourself to drop back into it. Find the softness within it. Breathing in to any subtle sensations. Gently allowing yourself to be with them. Another 3 breaths here. When you feel ready, you can begin to release. We're going to go straight to second side for this one. So coming back through center, allowing the right leg to extend. Left leg starts to draw over. You can turn the head to face the left. You might stay. You might extend the left leg, reach the hand down to the foot, or even start to bend up the right leg to reach the hand down. When you're ready, take your time to release. Take a moment to lie the body out. Feel into any subtle shifts. Then when you feel ready, we're going to start to make our way towards our final pose, our Shavasana today. If you feel comfortable where you are, feel free to stay. Shavasana can always look like any pose you would like it to. Most importantly, it's somewhere that the body feels comfortable to release, to let go. So if there are any props, layers, anything you want to grab that will keep you comfortable, take some time to take care of yourself, assist your practice. And once you have found where you'd like to be, we're going to welcome in a couple final deep sighs. Deep inhale. Letting it go. Couple more at your own pace. Giving yourself this time and this space to soften, to open. Perhaps to keep coming back to a gentleness, to a compassion. When you feel ready to begin to return, you can begin by deepening the breath. Drawing a little more life, a little more awareness back to the body. Gently allowing that to start to travel, to expand. You can start with gentle movements. And then in your own way, let that expand. Maybe it's gentle stretches today. Might be hands to the body or a little bit of both. And take all the time you need. If you want to roll onto one side or take any other stretches along the way, please do. But we're going to start to make our way back to a seat where we'll close our practice down together. Once seated, we'll lift the top of the head. Soften the shoulders. And gently lift to the center of the chest. Just just coming back to feel any of the subtleties of the practice today. We're going to close today with just a few rounds of our Nadi Shodhana, which is an alternate nostril breath. We've worked with balancing different aspects of practice, yin and yang. What this alternate nostril breath does is something very similar. Each nostril corresponds to a different side of the brain, which stimulates a different part of the nervous system. So this breath sort of starts to balance out the two, and is a lovely one for grounding and coming back to center. So the left hand can stay as it is, whether that wants to be grounded, palm facing up, or maybe you want to work with a mudra. And then the right hand is going to come up towards the bridge of the nose. We'll have the thumb over the right nostril and the little finger over the left. First two fingers compress to the center of the brow. Few deep breaths to center. Inhale. Exhale. Let's inhale together. Close down the right nostril and exhale left. Inhale left. Close, open right. Exhale. Inhale right. Close, open left. Exhale. Inhale left. Close, open right. Exhale. Inhale right. Close, open left. Exhale. Take one more round. If you want to bring in a head movement, as you inhale, draw the chin up. Switch. As you exhale, the chin can draw down. Inhaling. Switch. Exhaling. At the right hand release, let's inhale through both nostrils. Exhale through both. Allow the body to soften again and come back just to feel. Take the hands to prayer. Decide if there's any part of your intention or practice that you want to keep with you beyond the mat, beyond the movements today. Let's inhale together. Exhale to bow the head in reverence and thanks towards yourself, towards your heart, your work and your dedication, towards your body, and then to the practice itself. May we allow any good, any benefits of this practice, not just to benefit us, but to contribute towards the freedom and the happiness of all things, of all beings. Let's seal the space with the thumbs at the center of the brow. Final inhale. And exhale to close. Thank you so much. Lovely, lovely, lovely people. If there's anything you need, or if you've got questions or anything, please feel free to let me know. You're always welcome to reach out. But if not, hopefully see you next time. Lots. Oh! And lots of love.